My name is Robin Clark. My friends call me Charlie, and this is another episode of Something to Talk About. Now, this is going to be a very harsh conversation, and what I'm about to say is going to make a lot of you very upset, but I'm going to do it anyways, and here we go. I want you to understand the consequences that you have made if you have decided to participate in a clinical research study because you have been diagnosed with a fatal disease, or if you have agreed to participate in an ongoing experimental drug trial because it's your only hope. Inside the clinical consent form, there are 2 paragraphs that I am sure you did not absorb because you went in with big hope and you weren't going to read anything negative. It just that's the way it happens. You kind of skim over these paragraphs, and I'm going to read these paragraphs to you. Not only that, is I'm going to explain the medications inside these clinical studies that you need to understand, because you think you're going in to beat your cancer, but are you really going to beat that cancer? The 2 paragraphs, let's start off with the paragraphs. The first one reads, and this is what you need to understand about this clinical study. When you've agreed to participate, you've agreed to give your body to this university, these doctors and nurses, to experiment on it, to do procedures and treatments, and give you a plethora of medications until they get it right, until they put you into remission. This is what the paragraphs say. Paragraph 1, are there benefits to taking part in this study? If you agree to take part in this study, there may or may not be direct medical benefits to you. We hope the information learned from this study will benefit other patients in the future. Paragraph number 2. You may choose not to participate in the study. Instead of being in the study, you have the following options. You may enroll in any other trials if they are available and if you are eligible, or you may have treatment with other chemotherapies. If you decide that you do not want any further active treatment for your cancer, one of your options is comfort care. It is often possible for comfort care to be provided at home. Please talk to your regular doctor about this and other options. Inside the introduction portion, it says this: you have been invited to be in this research study because your doctors have found that you have a cancer that is not curable with standard chemotherapy. So you have 2 options. You go into this clinical study with a lot of hope, or you seek comfort care. My husband was in a clinical study for 2 years. And when we were in the clinic, we talked to these other people. We talked to everybody that was around us, and we got to know each other. We became family. And we started comparing notes. Many of these people were taking the same drugs that we were. Many of these people were participating in the same treatments and the same procedures. Because cancer is, whether it is a leukemia, is it tumors, or it's an autoimmune deficiency, it is cancer. And they're trying to find a drug that will cure this overall baseline cancer. Or are they? When I went to pick up the medications for my husband after he signed up for this clinical study, there were about 17 of them, and it blew me away. And I started reading the fine print in the drug pamphlets, and it said these medications will cause cancer in the future. The top 4 drugs that we had to take, one of them being $10,000, the one that put him into remission, which was interesting to me because we were told this is $10,000 a month. Can you afford that? If you can't afford that, and this is the drug that is working on you right now, you can sign up for this clinical study and you can get this drug for $25 a month. Now, these medications are not prescribed outside of a clinical study because the efficacy is poor. They do not know what these drugs are going to do to you in the future, and they're extremely expensive. But these universities and these clinical programs get billions of dollars a year to pay for these drugs for you while they experiment on you with them. When I called the pharmacist over and I said, I don't understand. These 4 medicines that he has to take say they're going to cause cancer in the future. And she says, yes, they will. We do know this. I'm like, what? And she says, yes, these medications will put your husband into remission right now, but they will cause a different form of cancer in the future. We do know this because we've been doing this for over 30, 40 years. So, but when you and your doctor will cross that bridge when you get to it in the future. So I look at these commercials and everybody, these activists that are saying, donate money to cancer research, donate money to help these programs to get rid of cancer. Well, if you are giving drugs to cancer patients to get rid of cancer, this kind of cancer, but they're going to cause another kind of cancer, well, that to me is just job security. That means we're not getting rid of cancer. They're just giving you medications to get rid of this type of cancer, just to give you a different cancer in the future. We see it on the commercials all the time. Our drugs are being recalled all the time because they're causing cancer. So we're not working on a war against cancer. We're just keeping something alive to keep the money going. And I know that might sound harsh, but listen, when you're taking drugs in a clinical trial to kill cancer that are going to give you cancer in the future, then to me, I'm sorry, that's just a win-win for the cancer companies and these universities. So know what you're getting yourself into. Understand what the fine print is in everything that they are giving you. Now, when I went to try to figure out what to expect, what the consequences are, what is the aftermath of these clinical studies, one of the things I asked was, what happened to the people in the first phase of the study that my husband was in? He was in the second phase, and it said that on the top of his consent form when he signed it. And I said, what happened to the people in the first phase? And the doctor, kind of hem-hawed around and ignored my question. I finally found a nurse practitioner and I said, hey, what happened to the people in the first phase of this clinical trial that my husband is in? And she said, none of them survived. I said, what? What do you mean none of them survived? You're still trying to get it right? And she says, yeah, we're still trying to get it right. But this is what these clinical studies are about, is trying to get it right. I was like, oh my God. On a piece of paper that we take home after every visit to the doctor, it said goal in 5 years, and it said none next to it. And I asked her, I said, what does this mean? And she says, it means that nobody has lived 5 years after this clinical study. So therefore, no one. So you go into these clinical studies hoping you are the one that's going to turn the none into one. But do you really understand what you're getting yourself into? Because there was no information out there. No one had written their story. I did. I wrote a very down and dirty, very blunt, and honest memoir. And this is the memoir that I wrote. And it tells the entire story of what happens from the beginning to the end of what this process is when it comes to participating in a clinical study. Because there was no information in regards to what to do, how to prepare, this team around you that are going to be your support group, what do they need to know? What do they need to prepare for? What can they do for us? What are the tools that we need to start this process? Everything from changing your house, to changing your bathrooms, to pulling up the rugs, to getting your power of attorney in order, your will in order. Where do you want to be buried? None of this is told to you. They tell you nothing to prepare you for the beginning, the middle, and the end. So what I did was I wrote a second book, and the second book is contains all of the tools and information that you need to move forward if you are going to participate in a clinical study. Now, my husband had Philadelphia positive acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It doesn't matter what kind of a leukemia or cancer you have. Once you start a clinical study, you need the tools. You need to know what is available to help you get through the debilitating ailments that's going to happen after chemotherapy, after radiation therapy, after you stop being able to absorb your food, swallow your food, chew your food, when your feet start swelling up and there's blisters in your mouth and on your hands and on your feet and you can't sleep, you have to have the tools. So I put in this book the tools. Now I'm not showing you these because I want you to buy them or purchase them. I'm just showing you that there is something available. I did not have anything available for me to turn to. Nobody wrote their story. Nobody told me what to do. So I felt that I had to. I had to write these stories. I had to give you the information behind the consequences of the decision that you just made. My heart goes out to you. And I'm sorry that I'm being brutally honest on this, but you have to be. I have to be. Because I know. And I want you to know. And I want you to be able to make an educated decision on what's best for you. Not because somebody said, this is all there is for you. This is your only hope. This is your only cure. You might have to seek cure outside the United States. Maybe not. But a lot of these studies and trials will take you into remission. But they will leave your body and your immune system so debilitated that you're going to wonder how much quality and quantity of life was I hoping for and what did I not get. Our doctor told us that 1/3 of the patients die, 1/3 of the patients wish they would die, and 1/3 of the patients live, but with very, very poor quality of life. And we were finally told that by our oncologist about 6 months before my husband passed away. And that made me madder than hell because we weren't given honest information up front. Know what you're getting yourself into. Look at the fine print of the drugs. Look at the fine print in the consent form. Be prepared. My heart, my love goes out to you in this time. Just being honest. Charlie out.